Hey guys, I'm Ash.
And I'm Pete.
We're two friends with a combo of 7 kids ranging from toddlers to 20s and 2 crazy husbands.
Our paths were not easy. With childhood battle wounds, divorce, second marriages and all, we somehow found each other. And together we talk real life, laugh, cry, and figure out how to survive the day.
Music is by Dustbowl Champion. To hear Dustbowl Champion's newest hits, search Dustbowl Champion on Spotify. Hey guys, it's Ash and Pete.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
Ashley's a little nervous going into this topic, I think.
I don't even know why. I think it's probably because I don't really know where I stand on the issue.
Okay. Well, let's talk about it.
Okay, so is college for everyone?
Yeah. I think it's hard because I think for me, I will always push education.
Yeah.
With my kids. I will always want them to go. I mean, if I had it my way, I would want them to go off to school, graduate, and in whatever it is that they want to do, even if they don't know what they want to do, to have that in the back of their pocket. Not necessarily. There's a lot of people that have it that don't use it, but it could come in handy. You never know.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I look at college as an experience and life lessons. But life lessons come in all different ways. I just feel like some are harder than others, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a life lesson in the sense of like, I feel like there's growing, there's relationships, there's independence that is learned, but there's also bonds because there's friendships that are built during that time and responsibilities of, when you're kind of having to handle it on your own.
Yeah.
In a sense. And I look at friends and even my husband who had that opportunity, and I'm envious of it, because I feel like it's an extension of your childhood that goes into your adulthood. And for me, I didn't have that, let me back it up a little, I guess. So I don't have a college degree.
I do not either.
I did go to City College.
Me too.
For 2 years. After I graduated, might have been 2 years. And I think that I had such a different childhood and growing up. Hood, however you want to say it. It just was not your typical life that I don't know, even when I went off to school, I stayed here in town, but when I moved out at 17, I moved out as soon as I graduated.
Yeah.
Weeks after I graduated, I moved out, and I moved in with, at the time was my boyfriend, right? My ex-husband and his roommates, and they were all in college already. And those were fun times. Obviously, you can't live that way forever,
Right.
They were fun times. There were some learning curves with that. I wish that, I wouldn't want to, if I had the opportunity now to go back, I would say, don't move in with your boyfriend, find a friend, and move in with your friend.
Yeah.
But that was just the way that's the way my life went. Right. And, I didn't know what I wanted. And honestly, I didn't have, I needed to work. I didn't have money, it's not like my mom gave me money. When I left home, my mom and I were not even on good terms.
Yeah.
We weren't talking. We didn't talk for months. So I think that for me, I look at it and think, God, how cool would it have been to be able to go off on a good note and experience that without a boyfriend, without anything, and just kind of figure out how to meet people and go to school and not worry about how much money you have and paying rent and utilities and all of that. And some people go off to school and still have to pay all of that,
right?
You know,
right?
But I think that's why I will probably always push that. But I think there comes a point where when you're with your kids, you kind of have to start to see maybe school isn't for them.
Okay.
You know, like, I think as they get into their later high school years that you realize that maybe that's not maybe that's not where they're going to be, you know? And there's plenty of vocational schools that are amazing.
Yeah.
I think times are different now than they were when we were even younger.
Mm-hmm.
I think that having a degree, having some college in your back pocket is crucial today than it was then.
Mm-hmm.
I think for us, we grew up where you either had a degree or you had 4 years of experience in yada, 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 right? But if you look now at most job opportunities, when you're talking careers, there's no or.
Right.
It's that you need to have this degree plus this experience, or you need to have this degree and then whatever else. But there's no or. And I only noticed that because within the last, when I left before I got my job that I have now, and I've been there for 3 years, I was with the company for 12, 13 years. I was kind of starting to look out there, and I kind of noticed it. And then before Tony left this last year, I was kind of like shopping around for him and kind of looking, and I noticed it. And it was like, that's interesting, because back then, it was kind of like, you either have a degree or you have so many years of work experience,
Yeah. See, with the company I work for, there is it is a degree or years of experience. But I almost feel like in order for you to get that experience, that you have to have a degree. Like whatever's leading up to it, it's not just you. I mean, you're not just going to have this experience without having had a job, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I guess maybe for me, I look at it as, of course I would want my kids to go, but is it going to be what's best for them? Are they going to do well? Is it something that they're really going to do? Because I went to school and I didn't finish, and even though I have a good job, it is one of those things where I'm like, I did go back to school for a bit and was working toward getting a degree because I wanted to be able to have that in case anything happened. But it's also one of those things where, there's student debt that comes into play. Yeah. There's things like that where depending on what you're trying to do, they may not have, how long is it going to take them to pay off their student loans? And is it really worth it?
Well, we just finished paying off Tony's maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah. So it's like you're paying it for so long.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things. I don't really know. I don't know, obviously, how my kids are going to be when it gets closer to that time. I still have some time.
You do. And I feel like right now, the clock is kind of starting to tick for us,
Yeah.
But I have no doubt. I mean, Tristan wants to go to school, so that's not like a question for her.
Yeah.
I don't think she quite knows what she wants to do. I think she has some ideas, but I don't think she knows what she wants to do. And I think that that's normal. I always tell her, I'm like, Tristan, everyone says, I have known since I was 5 years old that I wanted to be a doctor or an attorney. I mean, there are very special people that have had that.
Yeah.
That have figured that out, that they knew that they wanted to be that. They knew they wanted to be a nurse. They knew it was in their heart to be a teacher, whatever it is. But most people aren't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, it's like you have to find yourself.
Yeah.
And you figure out something. I never want her to have to go to school and feel like she's wasting. I don't want her to waste time and I don't want to waste money, but I also think it's a learning thing too.
Yeah.
And in life lessons.
Yeah.
You hope that your kids make good decisions when they go off to school.
Right.
But I just feel like it's the experience in general, the whole packet that I want her to have. But so there's 9 of us, and out of all of us kids, my stepsister, who is 21, yes, 22. She might have just turned 22. Oh my God, I can't remember now. But she, I think she just turned 22. She will probably be the first one to graduate from college.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But every one of the boys, and Jiren is still in college, he's still in school. He's younger than her. But I'm looking going, okay, well, I didn't graduate from college.
Mm-hmm.
Look at, I have a brother that went into the academy.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing very well for himself. I have a brother who's an electrician,
Mm-hmm.
He's doing very well for himself. It's not like they're not doing things. It's just that that's not the path that they took. But sometimes I wonder if it's not the path that they took because it wasn't I don't think it was really embedded in us as children to go for that. And I think it's because my mom didn't graduate from college, that she didn't really focus so much on, I want you to go to college and we're going to look and see what classes you need. And we're going to do, I do that now with Tristan. I look and see what classes does she need? What does she need in this? What does she need in that in order to get to this? In order to get to UC, what do we have to take? Because I want her to at least have the ability that I don't want her senior year or her junior year to say, I didn't have the opportunity because I didn't take the right classes.
Yeah.
So if that's where she wants to go and she's able to get in, then that's great. Mm-hmm. And if it's not, then it's not. And if she just wants to go to a state school or she wants to do 2 years in JC and then transfer, whatever path we pick, whatever path she chooses for herself, we have to go with it. But I want her to at least have the options.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we ever grew up with that. We really didn't. I think my mom was just trying to survive the day,
Yeah.
It's not that she didn't want us to go to college. She just didn't push that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just important for all of those reasons. It's the same reason why, I said I feel like I created almost a Peter Pan syndrome with Tristan because I just wanted her to stay young. I want her to experience what it's like to just be a kid, to just be a teen, to just be a young adult, not have the pressures of you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your mortgage, or you have to pay your electricity or whatever. Because we have forever to do that.
Yeah.
We'll be paying those forever.
Yeah.
Unless someone wins a lotto. I haven't known anyone yet won a lotto.
Yeah. See, going back to what you said about you don't want her to waste time or money, but those experiences that come with it, I feel like I wasted time and money, in my opinion. For me personally, I don't think that I got anything out of it. I've been working since I was in high school, so I was just working and going to school, and it was just an extension of high school. It wasn't anything great or anything like that. I didn't ever go away to a 4-year college, so maybe that's why. but then it's like,
but I feel like sometimes and I know, I mean, this is the thing too. And I mean, a lot of people say do 2 years at JC and then transfer. But I feel like JC is an extension of high school.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of the bridge. And I think that's why people get stuck there. And I think that's why people don't move past that.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that everyone would at a 4-year, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's easy to it's just like what you were doing. And it's the same people, a lot of the same people that you went to high school with.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to school and you're working. And then sometimes then the work kind of keeps, putting money in your pocket.
Yeah.
And then life starts happening and you want more and you do more and the more you have, meaning the more you work.
Yes.
And then the less important the school becomes.
Right.
For me, I think that although I wish I had the experience, I don't necessarily think that I would have been maybe monetarily, I would have had other opportunities, to take other positions. But I still wouldn't have known. To this day, I don't know what I want to be.
I think I do, but
I don't know what I want to be.
I do, but
what do you want to be?
I want to be.
You want to be a podcaster.
I want to be a podcaster. No, I want to be a teacher, but I make way more than a teacher does. So I would never be like, if I were like, okay, I want to get my degree so I can go and be a teacher, I would never be able to do it. So it's one of those things where it's like, because the money. And that's why I quit going to school, because I was making good money.
Right.
And when you get a job where I don't have a degree and other people do have a degree and I'm making more money than some of those other people, it's like, okay, what is the point in it? Not that there's not a point to it. I do think education's important. I just wonder, is it necessary?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's always necessary. For some people, it's not going to be.
But you have to be a freaking hustler if you're not going to get it. It's not like it was when we were younger. It's not. It's different. And kids, I'm sorry, I'm going to sound like an old lady here, but kids these days are different.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them do not have that same hustle that we had.
Yeah.
And part of it is probably that, we've given them the ability to kind of have more than we did.
Yeah.
And, but I feel like for me, I was able to do some amazing things. I was able to buy a home very young.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to always support myself. I never depended on people, my parents, my husband, anyone to take care of me. I always took care of myself and my family. But I'm a hustler.
Yeah.
I am. I'm going to do whatever it is that I have to do to have that life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, if that means that I am going to work for my day job and I got to earn. When I went into buying my first house, I was like, I wanted to make sure I had enough of a down payment. I wanted to have all of this stuff. I was already going through the divorce with my, ex, and I wanted to make sure everything was lined up and I could get into this house and yada, yada. And I was selling Arbonne on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I did that for probably almost a year because I wanted the extra money, because I knew what the goal was. The goal was to get into a house. Yeah. And so I thought, means that I have to work extra, then I'm going to work extra. Yeah. If that means I gotta whatever. And I'm still, I still am like that. And I think that it's been drilled. I mean, I've been working since I was young too, mm-hmm. that you just work your ass off to have what you have, and if you want to be able to sit back and enjoy it one day, then you've got to go out and earn it. Right. But I just feel like unless you have vocational background. And I mean,
And that's what I'm
an education
wondering too.
That's an education to me too. I mean, if you say I want to be
like an electrician.
An electrician.
You can do vocational for
Yes.
electrician.
Yes, a plumber, whatever it is. But I think that there's an educational background behind it. I don't know that college is for everyone, but what I do know is that if it's not for you, to me, in my opinion, then you've got to be really willing to work your ass off to climb up. And you're not going to start as anything up high.
Right.
You're going to start from the ground up.
Yeah.
And it's going to take you time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just a harder road.
Yeah. But I mean, even people who get a degree and then have these jobs, sometimes their jobs don't pay that great either.
No.
You know?
No, you're absolutely right.
And it's like,
or they don't do anything with their degree.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, I have a degree in this, but I'm this instead. And it's like,
I have a friend that has like his degree is like he was like a history major.
What does he do?
Nothing to do with that. No, not at all.
That's so funny.
So it's like, I totally do get it. Okay, we need to take a break.
Okay.
Come back
and come back
a little
to
bit
that.
more.
Okay.
Hey guys, we're back.
Ready to get back into it.
I know. Ashley just said this is the hard, like these are the hard things about being a parent.
Yeah, it is, because it's, of course you want your kids to do well and to have things. But at the same time, you're helping guide them. And what if you guide them in the wrong direction? What if I tell my kid, go to college, and then no, they really should have just gone to vocational school. You know, maybe college isn't for them. With the girls, it was easy because they both just knew they wanted to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I have time, obviously, with the boys, but sometimes I worry, like, Hayden is not a fan of school. And so it's like, is he going to want to go?
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, is he going to try to live on my couch for the rest of our life? Because Jason and I aren't interested in that. So.
Well, and you know what? That's what I mean, where it's like, college is not for, I don't think it is for everyone.
Yeah.
I look at my brother who is an electrician, and I know college would not have suited him.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have. That's not his personality. And it's not that it's not because he's not smart. It's not because he's not anything. It's just not him.
Yeah.
How you get a parent to want to feel that's rough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to be told that college isn't for my kid because they should go to college.
Right.
But it may not be.
Yeah.
I think for Tia, well, this is what Tony and I say. Tony and I are like, okay, if she can go to school and she can figure out what she wants to do, and if she can just pay, because she's more like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, she's going to do something my vision, I don't know. I could be totally freaking wrong. My kid could end up being totally not anything that I'm envisioning, right? That's what happens. You have a vision for your kid. It doesn't mean that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I see her doing something that's like more of, she's just more artsy.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be something she's smart. She's really smart, but that's not going to be her passion. Her passion is going to be something more artistic.
Right.
So if she can just, Tony and I always like, if she can just figure out a career where she can pay her bills.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And just be happy. Just be happy doing what you want to do and be able to afford to pay your bills.
Right.
As long as you don't have to live on my couch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, then you can then that's okay.
Yeah.
You're happy doing it. If you want to be a teacher, we all know teachers don't make money. You know, they don't. They do not make a lot of money. But it's a passion. It's obviously something that's in their heart.
Yeah.
It has to be. Otherwise, you're not going to be a good teacher.
Right.
You know, it has to come from the heart. But if you can pay your bills,
right,
then that's all. Then that's all. As a mother, I'm thinking, be able to pay your bills and be happy doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I mean, I definitely don't think like, oh, well, my kids need to make at least this much money, you know, but I also don't want them to not go to school or anything and then be in a position where they can't really earn a living, you know, because, you know, there are people that work their butts off and they still get paid, you know, not enough to really survive.
Yes.
You know, they're having to get, you know, government assistance and things like that. And it's not that they're not working. It's just, you know, that's kind of where they've ended up. They're in this job that doesn't pay very well.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of, it is what it is. They do what they can, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. And, you know, I don't want my kids to be in a position where they struggle. You know, like if you're not making a lot of money, but you can support yourself and your family and, you know, that kind of thing, then that's totally fine. I just don't want them to struggle.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's like there are jobs, you know, in the arts that is tough because there are a lot of, you know, in that kind of arena.
Yes.
There are not a lot of areas where I mean, I have a girlfriend, I don't know how much she makes. I'm assuming she does well for herself, but she does graphic design. So she designs stuff for like Disney and things like that. I think she makes a good living. And that is an art type thing, you know, and she makes good money, but it's not, you know, not everyone's going to be able to do that.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just, I just get nervous. Both of my brothers have, my baby brothers, both of them have, certificates from vocational school. Both of them did vocational school. And with Steven's, school was not his thing ever. He would never have gone to college. And with Robbie, I'm sure he could have gone to college, but and what worries me is that Hayden is a lot like him. They're very smart, but they just don't want to do the work, you know? And it's not necessarily like, oh, you're being lazy. With Hayden, I think it is. But it's like my brother could have gotten a degree, but he didn't want to do that, you know, like that he's not interested in being in a classroom and things like that, you know? So, you know, they both do well for themselves and, you know, are doing just fine, but that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know if Hayden will want to go to school because my baby brother did not want to go to school.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, well, I'm going to look into these different things. And that's what he did. But
that's fine. I mean, that's good. And look, maybe neither. Maybe you don't want to go to vocational school or you don't want to go to college. And that's where I just think like, you got to be really willing to bust your ass because companies aren't like they used to be when our parents and our grandparents and stuff were around, where you get in with this company and you can work your way up by seniority, and then you retire in 30 years and you've got this great pension and this great retirement and all this stuff. Things like that are very few and far between these days.
Right.
And a lot of times, just to get your foot in the door, you need some kind of education behind it. You know? And so that's where I get nervous. Not that there's anything wrong with, working, in a retail store or a grocery store or food, but you've got to think about long term. And we say this even now, like, my stepdad, he owns his own business and he's doing great, and that's wonderful. He's very blessed, but there comes a point, it's a labor intensive job.
Right.
And there comes a point where you're on your feet so long.
Yeah.
You're lifting or you're doing things, and your body isn't always going to be as young as it is right now. So thinking about long term, you think you just want your kids to have that ability to say long term in 20, 30, 40 years, because you're going to be working for a very long time.
Right.
Where does that leave you at today?
Right.
You need to make sure that you set yourself up for that long term goal. And if it's stepping stones, that's fine. I've always told my brothers this, and I say it even to Tristan too, like, build stepping stones for yourself to get to the top. Make your way. That's what I've done. Everything I've done is to build my next move, right? Yeah. It doesn't mean that I don't like where I am. Look at the job that I am now. I love my job. Does it pay the bills? No, not really. It doesn't, because it pays the smaller bills. But I took a big pay cut to take this job, but it's a stepping stone for me.
Yeah.
And I see that, and I see the potential of it, and I see what it is, what you make of it. And already in the 3 years, it's come a long way.
Yeah.
And I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy the fact that I enjoy the people that I work for, that I work with. I enjoy that I have the flexibility for my young family right now. And those are all the important things that I need right now. But is it going to be what I need in 40 years?
Right.
Yeah. I'm looking out for my best interest and my family's best interest.
Yeah.
And I think that that's hard when you're young for them to see. And then it's hard for us as parents. How do we make sure that they are making those moves? And how do we do it without them going, shut up, Mom, I know what I'm doing? You have two grown daughters. Did that, you said the girls both wanted to go to school. They knew that right away.
Yeah. It was never anything that they considered to not go to school. They both wanted to do something that requires them to have the education. So, and Kyla's changed what she wants to do. But either one she does, she needs to have that education, so it's like she started and originally thought she was going to go down one path and is going down a different, and people change their majors all the time, that's, some of us get into college and we're 17 years old.
Yeah.
And it's, at 17 to try to figure out what you want to be when you grow up, it's like, that's a lot to put on a kid.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So, with them, it wasn't ever an issue. But like Deja's situation, I think Deja probably could have done vocational to do what she wants in the long run. But that's not the route she wanted to go. She wants to get her degree and doesn't want to, I think it's that, she went vocational. Maybe she would have started out at a lower level
Mhm.
and maybe she doesn't want to do that,
Mhm.
which is totally fine. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, whatever your goal is, being able to reach it with, you know, what you do, that's great. So with them, it wasn't an issue. And they were, I mean, they were always better about applying themselves at school than Hayden is. Hayden just doesn't apply himself. He drives me nuts. Just drives me crazy.
You know, I was on the bike this morning, and the instructor said something, and it just kind of like, now I'm not gonna be able to remember it, but it was something like, you're not incapable, you lack motivation.
Yes. Yes,
and I
that's
think
exactly what it is. He's not motivated to do it. I honestly think he feels like, what is it going to do for me? But and I try to tell him, you know, you're very smart. You're a smart kid. But eventually, when you stop learning, you stop growing, and you're not going to be so smart.
Yeah.
You may be okay, but like, you're smart because you've like gotten this information and you've kept it and you were able to grow with it. You've applied it. Now, if you say like, okay, if you drop out, you might be smart for an 8th grader, but if you were to drop out right now, when you're 20, you're not smart because you stopped learning at 8th grade.
Yeah.
Like, come on, kid. But I think he's just like, I don't think he sees big picture long term.
Yeah.
The point in applying himself in school. And it's very frustrating because I was not like that. I always did really well in school. There was one year in high school where I didn't do great. I was focusing more on having fun than, you know, other stuff. But it wasn't ever an issue where I just was like completely withdrawn from school.
Have you ever asked him what he wants to do, or what does he think he wants to do?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to share it? Or no? You're looking at me like, unfortunately, I did.
Well, he's changed so many different things. You know, it's like he wanted to be a rapper for so long. Right?
Well, he did show off his rapping skills at our wedding.
I mean, he entertained the crowd for your wedding guests.
Maybe we need to have him be our entertainer when we have our parties.
Maybe. But after that, he's kind of gotten away from that a bit. And he thinks that he likes math a lot. And so he thinks maybe he wants to do something with that. But it's like, okay, but you would have to apply yourself. Like, you're not going to get a math degree. And
oh my God, you know how much math he's going to have to take?
Yeah. Like, you're not going to get a math degree by doing nothing.
Yeah.
You know? So it's one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh. And that's another thing, is that he likes math. So he knows that that's a subject he likes and he does well in. But what could he do with it? He's not really sure, you know? Like, maybe he wants to be in architecture. He's mentioned that before. But it's not ever anything where he's like, oh, I would love to do this. This is what I want to do, you know?
I think that maybe he just needs to see other things. Like, maybe you guys need to like go see campuses. Maybe he needs to like see what it's like to, but he's going to know. I mean, because he may fall in love with the campus and you might go, but then do you understand what that means that you have to do? And maybe that'll be his motivation.
Yeah.
Or maybe if it is something math-like that he's interested in, I don't know, I would say put him in like a math club or something, but it might scare him away. He might realize real quick he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, you said something earlier. It was like, you know, people that don't even that have these degrees and they don't even like have good jobs with it. And I think that's another thing. And I always say that like, I'm not like I'm street smart.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not like book smart. I'm really not, but I am street smart.
Yeah.
My husband is very book smart.
Right.
He is a very smart person, but he can also be a big dummy, because
he's not street smart.
He's not street smart. I mean, he would be taken in a second if he was, walking the streets by himself. I have to be the one to like tell him, don't look in the eye, just keep going, blah, 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 like I tell him. But honestly, I mean, it is a good balance. But he does like, I think it trips him out, and I think it's just because I've got life lessons, right?
Yeah.
That he does not have. Although he had this great experience of going off to school,
right?
He has a different perspective than I do because we just lived two different experiences growing up. But I think I envy him in those ways. But I think that we've learned a lot from each other,
right?
I think that I look at it and I used to always think like, well, I'm the smart one. You're, whatever. I mean, I am still really the smart one, but it's like, but I think that, I mean, there's a lot of ways that I think we couldn't get where we were without him having that behind him. You know? He understands things that I don't understand and I have to hand off to him. But when it comes to, I mean, like life and real stuff, it is me. But you hope that, and it's part of, I guess for me, I look at it and I'm thinking, as I'm coming into the end of her sophomore year and into her junior year, these are all of the pressures that are now upon us as parents. Like, what are you going to encourage your child to do? Yeah. And what are you going to guide them with? And how do you make sure that they don't feel the pressure of, I mean, because some kids feel the pressure of holding that bar so high from their parents, but also keeping them. I've always had high expectations for everyone in my life. And I know it's my fault, not anyone else's, because it's just the way I am, because I hold standards high for myself. I hold the bar high for myself. So if it's not high, if I'm jumping over it, it's not high enough. That's how I see it, right? So my bar is usually up a little higher for pretty much everybody, and including my kids even sometimes. And I know I hold that bar too high, and I have to remember they're not the same person, Priscilla. Like my kid is not the same person. She's not going to be that way. But it's the pressure of, I don't want her to be the kid on the couch, but I want her to do something. Yeah. But how do I lead her in the right way?
Yes. That is the worst thing, because, and Hayden's only going to be a freshman, but he's going to be a senior before I know it. And so if I can't get it together as to how to guide him, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Yeah. The girls just knew it wasn't ever anything that wasn't ever a conversation that we had to have. Like, now you really need to think, are you sure you don't want to go to college? That wasn't ever anything, because if Hayden were to decide he doesn't want to go to college, that is a conversation that we have to have. Like, you really now have you, like, why are you coming to this conclusion? Yeah. What is it that you foresee happen? Like, how is this benefiting you down the road? Have you considered these things that come along with not going to school? Right. So I don't know. And student debt is just something that really bothers me too.
I know. And you know what? I think maybe because, and granted, I mean, he had it well before I came along, and then we had it together and we had it through our marriage. I think Yeah, I think we paid it off maybe like right when we got married or something like that. But I think that it was worth it. I do. I think he could have cut a lot of that debt down.
Well,
It
yeah,
took him a
there
long
were
time. It
yeah,
took him a
there were
long
things
time to
that he
finish.
did, yes, that
It
increased
took him a
it.
long time to finish. He was messing around way too much.
Mm-hmm.
But his parents were smart in saying, you have to take everything out on your own,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that's free. That's your bill. You know.
Yeah.
And I think that I look and I think it's he may not, I don't know, but I think it was worth it, because I think we're in a better place had you not had that.
Yeah.
Had you not had it, I don't know that we would be here right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about someone who he went into school to be an engineer. That was his major at 17, because his dad was an engineer, because his brother was an engineer. And it's just what he knew. And he took, I mean, this is why I say he's very smart. He took like every level of math, because they have to take all this math. He took all these math classes. It's crazy how much he knows and how smart he is. Is he an engineer today? Nope.
Yep.
There's my kid.
That's our kid.
I know. He's not. But does he apply it to his job today? Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know that we know what the answer is.
I don't think we do. I guess the
answer is really, college really isn't for everyone.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that is true.
But the part we don't know is how, as a parent,
do we lead our kids and guide them to make the decision that's right and best for them?
Yeah.
I guess in like, I don't know what. Well, you've got a lot of years before you can know if you've helped all of your children.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was going to say, I guess in, a few years from now we'll know, but
no,
mine's are pretty little.
I have a long time.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. That's why I'm like, I don't know. Isn't it like, yeah, I want my kids to go to school, but at the same time, I don't know that that's what would be best for them. I don't know. I'm very torn. We'll see.
Well, maybe one of our listeners will chime in and give us their answers.
Let me know what to do with my kids.
Can you guys just tell us
how to do it?
Yeah, tell us how to lead them and to make the right decisions. And
seriously, though, really, if you have information, if you have some tips, let us know. Please.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for swapping with us. We'll be back next week. Segment music by Callie Grace. For more of Callie Grace's hits, follow Callie Grace on iTunes and Spotify today.